You're listening to Radio Sultanate of Oman on your favorite radio station, 90.4 FM.
Our universe is filled with secrets and mysteries. Many questions to be answered. We find ourselves searching for those answers at the very fabric of science and society. And for the very first time, these worlds collide.
On my mark. Here we go.
This is Knowledge Talk.
Topics that contribute knowledge to the society. News, interviews with guests.
The show that said it all with your host, Dr Ambusaidi, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Face it and talk it through on Knowledge Talk.
Check it out.
Every week here on the Nation Station, Radio Sultanate of Oman, 90.4 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and welcome to Knowledge Talks. This is a weekly edutainment and knowledge sharing program aired live specifically to share with you topics that contribute knowledge to the society. Now, every week, Knowledge Talks hosts and invites guests that are experts, professionals, and leaders from the field that bring wealth of knowledge to you. Knowledge Talks also highlights and promotes talents in the country that contribute knowledge and success to the nation. Now, this program, ladies and gentlemen, is a weekly session that I will have with you every Tuesday at 5 p.m. I'm your host, Dr Amaal Ambusaidi, along with our studio engineer, DJ Saleh, with you here for an hour on Oman Radio FM 90.4. Now, stay tuned for this very short break for a very interesting knowledge topic today and a very, very interesting personality. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Knowledge Talks, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Dr Amaal Ambusaidi, along with our studio engineer, DJ Saleh, with you here today live on Oman Radio FM 90.4. Your life and your interaction with people in social media can be unhealthy. The question is, however, in what way, how, and why? Well, this is part of our discussion today on Oman Radio FM 90.4 on Knowledge Talks program. Anxiety, disorder, psychological and mental health, impact of social media in our lives and our health is the point of discussion today, ladies and gentlemen. And my guest is an Omani concerned with psychological health and is the acting consultant psychiatrist, mood and anxiety clinic team leader at the Sultan Qaboos University Department of Behavioral Medicine. The question is, who is she? Dr Amaal Ambusaidi, who has interests, explored, and involved in many activities and projects pertaining to living a healthy lifestyle. In fact, personally, when I've come to learn about Dr Amaal, when I've come to read about the activities she's done and the people who have come across Dr Amaal, I can tell you one thing. She has a very strong personality. She shares very big value. Her workshop and presentations are spoken up very, very big and very, very interestingly indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And today I'm very pleased to welcome Dr Amaal with us here at Knowledge Talks to share wealth of knowledge to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr Amaal, how are you doing today?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I feel humbled by this very long and generous introduction. Thank you, Tara.
Now, truth be told, I mean, if you want me to properly introduce you, then I'll need to write a book about you. And I tell you that because, you know, lots of people speak very high about you. What I do before my interviews in the program is I write about the personality and I share it on the social media. And I can tell you what, a number of people have sent me messages. And some of them I've come to meet them during in the mall and so on. And they are very excited that you are coming here as a guest, mashallah.
So you do a little investigation before.
Oh, indeed. But your profile is very, very big for me to just cover it in a very, very short hour today.
Thank you very much.
And in fact, what I'm trying to do today is to have your wealth of knowledge shared to all the people who are listening to our program today, inshallah. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Amaal is a fellowship Brain and Therapeutics, Mood and Anxiety Disorders from University of Toronto. She is also the co-founder of Ashana campaign, which is coming soon. She is the co-founder and manager of All for One campaign, the first mental health anti-stigma campaign in Oman back in 2012. She is the founder of Life Academy social media accounts for enriching people with healthy knowledge and use of social media. And today I'm here and we've invited Dr. Amaal to pick her brains, of course, on all the things you do. Before I start with all that, Dr. Amaal, tell me one thing. How are you managing your time with all these activities you do and your profile at the SQU?
Oh, that's a very good question to start with. Actually, I have a close friend who says busy is the new happy, and I'm taking that advice. So I'm just keeping myself busy. And actually, I've always wanted to be a teacher as a small kid. So doing all of these activities is just like bringing that teacher inside of me, yet being a doctor, like being sneaky. So yeah, I'm enjoying my life. I love it this way.
I love it. Now I'll tell you one thing. I totally do agree and can relate very, very much with you, is that by being busy, but being busy on things that are beneficial, things that are value, and things that are of your interest, then you tend to be happy. Rather than, I think boredom or being lonely or doing nothing can really make you unhappy. Do you agree with that, right?
Yeah, and it's actually backed up by science. Like, science is telling us, like, when you're busy helping other people, when you're trying to make other people's lives happier and more meaningful, that makes you happy. That's the science of happiness, actually.
That's true. Mashallah, mashallah. Thank you very much for sharing that. And ladies and gentlemen, this is advice straight and directly from Dr. Amaal on how to be happy. Just be busy, but ensure that you're busy and doing the right things.
Yeah.
Briefly, could you kindly share with us some of the activities and achievements till date that you are personally proud of? I've shared some of them that I personally know, but what are the projects that you say, Tariq, these are the things that I've worked on and I'm proud of, and what you think about them?
Saying that I'm proud of something, I'm really proud of the first mental health anti-stigma campaign in Oman. It was an idea that was born on day-to-day basis in the clinic. As we were seeing patients coming to the clinic, we've seen them suffering because most of them, if they arrive to us really very late when their illness have, propagated and their course of illness has become more chronic. They're not responding well to medication. And most of the time, it's because people don't have that insight into mental illness. They don't believe in mental illness. They don't believe that there's treatment for mental illness, and because all of what they know is the traditional beliefs, that's the first thing that comes to their minds when somebody is sick. And it was really very sad because we used to see people who are really very young who have lost their ability to function, have lost ability to go to school, resume work, and have proper and normal social life. And every time people would come to the clinic, they try to make sure that nobody see them, that they're sort of invisible. And even if I stamp their sick leave, they beg me not to show that I'm a psychiatrist, because everybody is having that negative view about mental illness. So it was an idea that was haunting me for a very long time. And I just shared the idea with my colleagues, and we formed a small team, and we called the campaign All for One, or in Arabic Kuluna Ant. It started with just a group of champions, I like to call them, because there were people who are dedicated, who invested a lot of time to raise this awareness. And I decided to team up with Ali Al-Habsi. I talked to him, and he was really very happy, and he joined us. So we started the first mental health anti-stigma campaign, and it went on for a year. And tell you what, Tariq, in that 1 year, I learned a lot. And I thought, I'm just going to go there, give people some information, and that's it. But I realized that in this process, I learned a lot about the culture. I learned a lot about myself, and that really enriched my experience as a psychiatrist. So we've done lots of activities over the course of 1 year. We've visited schools, we've visited malls, companies, colleges, and what I learned about the Omani society is that it is a very flexible society. People were really eager to know about mental illness. People were welcoming. One day I was stopped by somebody who told me that they are so sick that they are suicidal.
Wow.
There in the mall.
Okay.
And it was really, really an eye-opener, because I thought people will not be so open to it. And it was the opposite. People would stop me, people would take appointments, and they want to get help. And I went to schools, and I went to a school that I used to go to in Nizwa,
Okay.
مدرسة حفصة بنت عمر, حفصة بنت عمر school. And it was amazing. I met with students, and I did a workshop with them and asked them about the causes of mental illness. I was amazed with the amount of knowledge that they already have, and how open they are, and how outspoken they were. And that was really, really something that made me so happy. And I felt that reward for doing such a job. So it went on for 1 year. I had to travel to study, to do my fellowship in Canada. And now that I'm back, I thought of doing what you've mentioned here, is opening Life Academy accounts. And it's the same idea, but it's like more me doing things, but I wanted to do something that is a bit different. I didn't want to lecture people about mental illness. I didn't want to talk to them directly about depression and anxiety, and sometimes people just don't want to listen to that. So I started a Snapchat account, and in that account we started talking about day-to-day things, like why would I want to have more social relationships in my life? What are the benefits of that? And for example, if I'm feeling fearful, what is fear, and how is fear serving our body, and when does fear become pathological? So just having more of a casual talk, using non-medical terms, and really triggering people to talk to me back, and kind of talking about the things that interest them. So it grew bigger, then started Twitter account, Instagram account, and still going on with the Snapchat thing.
Okay, let me share some few feedback with you. Number one is that when you say you talk about disorder, anxiety, and so on, people feel not comfortable. You're right, but it depends on who's talking about it. I was just sitting right now listening to you, and I can sit on and on, and I was listening to you.
Perfect.
Because what you share, you don't share it in a form of a technical or a jargon, but you're making it very easy, and you're making it a person, the person on the other side of the fence feel that, you know what, this is good for me. And I liked it when you say people, when they see you, they just come to you and they need help, you know, and that's a very good sign. Mashallah, mashallah. May Allah bless you always, inshallah. Mental illness, I just want to go one step back in terms of the definition of mental illness. Give me some of example of a mental illness. And
Okay. So mental illness is just like any other illness. How it manifests itself and how we see it in terms of symptoms, it either going to affect your behavior, your thoughts, or your functioning in general, your emotions as well. So mental illness, people think it's one illness, but it's a spectrum of illnesses. Like it can vary between something very serious like schizophrenia, for example, bipolar disorder, or it can vary to like specific phobias or mild anxiety and mild depression, and then more severe forms of depression. So mental illness is really not one thing, and it's not very it's not something let me say spoken about in our culture. Like if I go to qahwa or sitting in just drinking coffee with the ladies in the afternoon, people will be gladly talking about diabetes or hypertension, and they will be sharing knowledge like, oh, you should drink this or you should do that for your diabetes. But when it comes to mental illness, people will go like, oh, she has mental illness, you know. So people kind of go hush about it and don't talk openly about it, and in reality, mental illness could be there. I could be having anxiety and sitting in front of you, and nobody will notice. Nobody can tell that I have anxiety. Sometimes it's just an internal sort of suffering that nobody else can notice. So I think people need to be open about the concept of mental illness. People need to read more, and people need to come forward and also provide help and support to people who might be having mental illness.
Okay. Is it curable?
It is curable.
Okay, that is good.
And this is the thing. The most rewarding thing, Tariq, is when somebody who's 20 years old come to you having full-blown psychotic illness, and they are really lost their touch with reality, and they cannot go to school anymore, they cannot function well, people around them can tell that there's something wrong with them, and they stay in the hospital for a few weeks, and they go out of the hospital, going back to their life, being as normal as they used to be before being admitted to hospital. So most of the psychiatric illnesses are curable, but the key here is time really makes a difference. So if I have the first episode of a psychotic illness and I stay at home for 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, it's very much different from somebody who will present to us after 1 week of having this episode. Now, more research and more studies are showing us that every single day counts. We need to start treatment as soon as possible to ensure that people get better sooner without any residual symptoms and with the maximum functionality we can get.
So I've got 2 questions for you. One is, how do I know if I have a mental illness?
That's a tough question. It's not fair. So it really varies between one illness to another. So I can say that I have chest infection if I have so-and-so symptoms, and I have abdominal infection if I have so-and-so symptoms. So for us to diagnose depression or anxiety or schizophrenia, we also have a set of symptoms or criteria that we refer to. And if you get 1, 2, 3, 4, then you have the illness. For example, if you are depressed, if I'm going to diagnose you with having depression, I need certain things like you having low mood, depressed mood, feeling sad, feeling what we call in Omani ضيق. It's very non-specific word, and that's persistent for at least a period of 2 weeks, or you're having sort of loss of interest in life. What you used to like, you don't like it anymore. You're kind of more isolated. You lack enjoyment in the things that you used to like before. Your sleep is affected. Your appetite is affected. Your thoughts are very negative. You're feeling so guilty, blaming yourself for so many things, and at times it gets as bad as people start to become suicidal and think of death, and it can affect their functioning. So if we have those symptoms, then I can say this person is having depression. But when it comes to anxiety, I need a different set of symptoms. Schizophrenia, a different set of symptoms. So the key here, if you feel psychologically that you're not well and you don't know what it is, you can Google it online, and you can get a hint about it, or more easily, you can go to any, say, psychiatric clinic in the periphery, in the polyclinics available, and just get a consultation from someone. And if it's nothing, then at least you're sure and you're assured that it's nothing. But if it turns to be something that needs attention or treatment, then the doctor can advise you.
And it is something that someone should come front and speak about it instead of keeping it to themselves, because they'll get impacted even more.
Yeah, so some illnesses like anxiety and depression, it's something I can notice in myself, but if it's a psychotic illness, when I start to have odd beliefs or I behave in a different way that other people find strange, I may not have that insight. I may not know that whatever I'm doing or feeling or thinking is abnormal. So because in Omani culture, we're really kind of a big family, everybody is concerned about the other person. So then the role of the family, the role of friends, the role of the spouse and everybody else comes to play here, because some of the times people who have mental illness, they don't have insight that there's something wrong with them.
Okay, so that is the first question. The second question is, now I know I have a mental illness, I know what it is, and I need to go and contact Dr. Amaal. How do I go about it?
Okay, so there's Ministry of Health here, and they made it really very simple and available for everyone. So what you can do, you can go to your general doctor. GP. You can go to any health center, consult your doctor about the symptoms that you're having. They will be the first line, and they will assess. If they feel that these symptoms qualify to be some psychiatric illness, they will directly refer you to the psychiatric clinic that is linked to their clinic. And it varies really from one region to another, but they will direct you and they will tell you where to go. And for that psychiatric clinic, a specialist in psychiatry must be there who will be able to assess you. And if they feel that, okay, they cannot manage your case or your case needs a second opinion, they will refer you to a tertiary hospital where doctors like Dr. Amaal are available.
Okay, I can tell you one thing. I don't know whether I have a mental health or not, but talking to you, I would just come and get myself examined.
Oh, yeah.
No, I tell you.
That's a good idea.
No, it's good because you speak very nice, you explain very nice, you show the benefit, you make people feel good about it. You don't make people feel that this is, scary. Even if I ask for sick leave, I say, please mention it as long as you sign it, Dr. Amaal.
Thank you.
I want to know one thing, really. What motivated you to study mood and anxiety disorders? What made you get into this field, get studied? Was it a family? Was it friend? Was it your own personal interest? It would be very nice to know how did you get into this and to where profession you are now.
I wish that there was a very interesting story behind this, and I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I entered College of Medicine because I had high grades.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah,
That's
MashaAllah.
all. That's the whole story.
Okay.
I wasn't dreaming of becoming a doctor. My Uncle Zahran, hi uncle. So he used to call me Dr. Amaal all the time when I was, like a teenager.
Yeah.
And it seems that he programmed me in a way.
Yeah.
So I ended up in School of Medicine, but halfway through my studies in School of Medicine, we started studying behavioral medicine, and I was like, oh my God, I just found a gem. So what I used to do is I used to take the book and read it and apply everything I read on myself. And I used to panic sometimes and think, oh my God, I'm having this and that. But it was really fun. And I started doing games, like really trying to apply what I learned on other people.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
But I didn't decide to be a psychiatrist yet. And then when I did the psychiatry rotation, I started to get more and more interested, spending more time with patients. My supervisors noticed that. They gave me more duties, more presentations to present, and I spent more time with them. And eventually, when I graduated from School of Medicine, I found myself in my GP year. It was a mandatory year. I found myself with every lady who's coming with headache. I was asking her all the psychiatric questions. And I spent like 50% of my time in the psychiatric clinic discussing with the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And when OMSP was offering chances for training, I didn't hesitate. I had to choose psychiatry. So there it began. And after finishing my psychiatric training, I sort of liked doing more specialty in mood and anxiety, and I loved it. And there's one thing, I didn't used to like anxiety disorders.
Okay.
And people don't know this, but dealing with a psychotic patient is easier than dealing with a patient who have anxiety, because people who have anxiety know that they are anxious and they come forward and they talk a lot about what is troubling them. So when I was training in Toronto, my supervisor who was training me, and she was like the mother of anxiety, she was writing the chapter about anxiety, and she had anxiety herself.
Ooh,
and
okay.
yeah, and to tell you a little secret that everybody here was going to hear, I have anxiety as well.
You don't look at all that you have an anxiety.
I was telling you I was feeling anxious before that.
No, but mashallah, you're saying is one thing, but the way you look, the way you speak, the confidence, your knowledge that is there, your big heart to sharing people, mashallah. May Allah bless you, diamond, for you
Thank
to
you.
remain happy for dunya wal akhirah, ya Rab.
Thank you. So it was one of the big motivators, because when I was younger, I used to have bouts of anxiety during school years, and everybody thought it's hasad, because oh, she's a good student, then this is hasad. And it felt good when people say it's hasad, because it takes the blame from me. I am not faulty, it's the hasad, it's the other people. But then when I started the campaign, I focused on that, because if somebody needs help and they have anxiety and people think it's hasad, they're not going to get that help. And when I eventually specialized in anxiety disorders, now I get my patients sitting in the chair in the clinic and I ask them questions and they nod heavily, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling, because I've been through it myself and I know how they feel.
MashaAllah. No, I respect that fully. Now tell me one thing. What is the impact of social media on our psychological and mental health?
Well, around third of the people of the world use social media. So social media is readily available. And unfortunately, it's available for everyone, including really very young kids and adolescents. And what scientists are finding now that social media or technology in general is kind of rewiring our brains, and it's causing physical changes to our brains. When people can't log off the social media, around 5 to 10% of people can't log off. And now researchers think that this is a form of psychological addiction, just similar to the physical addiction that you get when you're sort of dependent on certain drugs. So they found on scans that they have brain changes, specifically in the white matter, sorry for the jargon, but some changes in the brain, similar to those changes we find with people who are, for example, cocaine addicts or heroin addicts. So it's really something very, very serious. Another thing is social media. What do we do when we go into Instagram? We post pictures about ourselves. On Twitter, we write things about ourselves. On Facebook, we write our status. So we became more and more self-involved. So what happens if I'm having this interaction with you now? I am kind of 30% self-involved in a normal interaction. But what happens online, this self-involvement goes up to 80%.
Wow.
And it seems that our brain is sort of secreting certain chemicals, and this chemical is dopamine, for those who are familiar with it. And it's what is causing reward in our brains. So every time we talk about ourselves, our brain produces this reward chemical, which is dopamine, and we feel happier and happier. And that feeling that we're feeling is the same feeling we feel when we are loved by someone. So imagine, now we're feeling that reward just by posting things about ourselves, and it gets into a vicious cycle. We post more to get the reward. And it's, if we think about it, we're getting an immediate reward for very little thing that we are doing, which is just posting something on Twitter or on Instagram. The other thing, which is really very sad, is it's like one-sided interaction. You just post something and you're just focused and obsessed there with the number of likes. How many people retweeted my tweet? How many people liked my status on Facebook? She did not kind of comment on my status. I am not commenting on her status. She did not wish me birthday. And if you look at it, it's just virtual relationships. It's not real relationships. So we humans, we are very social creatures, and studies and research tell us that the more social interaction we have, the better physical health and mental health we have. But what we're doing now, we are replacing that direct social interaction with this virtual interaction. Are you on any WhatsApp groups?
I'm on. I've removed myself on many.
Good for you.
WhatsApp groups, to be honest, and I've just stayed with very few, including the family ones. And I also don't check messages, to be honest, a lot.
Isn't it tricky when you find yourself dragged into getting into a WhatsApp group? You're kind of stuck, because if you want to escape or get out of that group, then people are not happy with you. They take it personal, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. And we're going to take a quick break right now and revert back to our very exciting discussion with Dr. Amaal.
Our listeners, now it's time for a call to prayers Adhan al-Maghrib, according to the local timing of Muscat and its suburbs. Those who reside outside Muscat Governorate have to notice the time difference.
You're listening to Radio Sultanate of Oman on your favorite radio station, 90.4 FM.
Our universe is filled with secrets and mysteries. Many questions to be answered. We find ourselves searching for those answers at the very fabric of science and society. And for the very first time, these worlds collide.
On my mark. Here we go.
This is Knowledge Talk,
Topics that contribute knowledge to the society. News, interviews with guests.
the show that said it all, with your host, Tariq Al-Barwani, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Face it and talk it through on Knowledge Talk.
Check it out.
Every week here on the Nation Station, Radio Sultan of Oman, 90.4 FM.
I mean, truth be told, ladies and gentlemen, which I've just shared it right now to Dr. Amaal, what I've liked about the personality is that although before we started the interview, she said, I have an anxiety, okay? And that's a sign of one thing, being humble. And then, but since she started speaking until now, she speaks nothing but very big value and valuable. She knows the subject very, very well. She's very humble, and I say again, got a very big heart to help everyone else as well. I personally, I'm learning a lot today.
Oh, thank you.
Unfortunately, as I said, this program is just for an hour. And there is a lot that, in fact, I have prepared to come and sit and talk to you about it. So we'll definitely invite you again and
be glad to be
speak
back.
Yeah. So going back again about the impact of social media. Now we know the problem that it has addiction and what it is impacting the people in our lives. How can people work on curing themselves or get cure, or what should they do in order to lessen the negativities that is out there right now?
Yeah, so what we need to know is when we're trying to change something like this, we're kind of hooked into this, and it's deeply embedded in our system, and we're getting that immediate reward. So it's going to be a bit difficult. But what we can do is little changes here, little minor changes, but on consistent basis can make a big difference. So one thing we can do is, if I'm spending a lot of time, and I know that I'm spending a lot of time on social media, I can start taking breaks in between, and I should make these breaks really something that is very, very fruitful, motor, like going out, doing things, activities, exercise, but try to make them with someone else. Try to make it a social interaction, one-to-one with another person. The other thing is always try to keep yourself surrounded with people. For example, if you're going on the elevator, and what the social media is changing in our system, it's making us less attentive, it's making us less concentrating, less multitasking. So what I would recommend is, even if you go into an elevator, try not to be sort of isolated. Try to say hi to someone, say a good comment about what they are wearing, share some good information. If you find somebody in the office who's upset today, the next day bring them flowers. Try to kind of take your relationships into the next level. So just deepen your relationships with people, spend less time online, and try to replace that time with a really very meaningful time. So not on solitude, but just socializing with other people.
Okay, you have conducted many workshops, and I personally have heard a number of people who have attended and shared very, very big value. Can you tell me when is your next workshop?
I just came back from Fahoud. We had psychological first aid, and people there liked it so much. So we're probably going to Marmoul for another workshop, and probably I'm going to give also another talk about workplace bullying, which is a hot topic now. I just had an interview yesterday about workplace bullying, and somebody contacted me, and we might be doing something really very soon. Bullying is a hot topic. I'm hosted in radio stations talking about this. We had also a talk in Shura Council. It was again talking about bullying in schools, providing some recommendations of what people can do to kind of tackle this problem and prevent this problem. And yeah, so lots of things coming.
You're really, really amazing. But I think you used, when you used the word, you say people like it. I think you've tried to be very humble. I think people love it. That's the right word you're trying to say. Now, you are having a fantastic initiative known as the Life Academy, which is basically your social media account that you use to share awareness. Could you tell us what of the platform that you're using and the accounts, please?
Okay, so Life Academy started on Snapchat, so it's Life Academy I'm kind of talking on daily basis about certain things. The most recent topic was why do we lie, and again sharing the same topic on Twitter. Have Life Academy Oman on Twitter and on YouTube. Some of the things that we share on Snapchat, I upload them on YouTube as well for people to be able to go back to them, as well as on Instagram. So through Life Academy is just trying to learn with other people, and I'm not saying I'm going to teach people. I'm trying to learn with them. As I pick topics to talk about, I do lots of research, and those good feedback that you're getting, because I'm a perfectionist. So, so when I try to do something, I try to do lots of research before doing it. So I learn in that process, and I have lots of fun. So in Life Academy, my ultimate goal is to share knowledge with people about different things, not exclusively about only mental health, but different things. Lots of them to do with communication skills, with self-empowerment, and helping people to communicate better with each other.
Okay, mashallah. Tell us about the psychological first aid. What is it and how does it work?
Yeah, so psychological first aid is the theme that is discussed this year. When we're marking the World Mental Health Day, it was the topic that WHO approached us and said, we want you guys to talk about this. So I've conducted workshops in university in South Al-Batina for like 200 school counselors, and as well as in PDO, two talks about it in PDO, and more planned in the future. Psychological first aid is just as the word implies. It's a first aid. It's something that you do at the beginning when you're trying to help somebody who gets any psychological shock or psychological trauma. So it's not a form of therapy. It's not something that only specialists, psychiatrists, psychologists do. Anybody can do it. And that's why we're going to groups of people who are at high risk of having psychological trauma. For example, people who are working in the oil field, in PDO, for example, they witness horrible accidents at times. No matter how much they try to stop the accident rates, accidents happen. Here in Oman, we have high rate of road traffic accidents, and people will witness this happening to other people or themselves. So they develop some psychological trauma. And the psychological first aid is a form of support that we provide to them initially. And it's basically just listening to their concerns and their needs and fears, and trying to calm them and link them eventually to services and help. For example, if somebody is feeling traumatized after the death of someone, we will provide them with the support needed. And if they needed more support, we can link them to a specialist later on. It's just the same way if you have a cut, you will just put some bandage on it, and if it keeps bleeding, you will take it to accidents and emergency for suturing. So it's the initial step that we do before the actual help, if needed later on.
Okay, where do you do the workshops?
As I said, what I aim to do is to do it in a context where people are going to utilize that information. So I've done it to Sultan Qaboos University students and to workers in PDO, and also to social workers of schools, because there are people who will be the first line that deal with students at school who encounter any psychological trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. You are also interested in cyber blackmail. Please tell us about it.
Well, there was an initiative from the ITA and CERT. I don't know. Don't ask me what it stands for, but it's CERT. They sort of approached me, and they started an initiative about cyber blackmail. They wanted an input from the psychological point of view, and I helped them with that, and it was an amazing experience because I learned, because my sister also works there. She told me that the rate of reports of cyber blackmail went up dramatically after the campaign, because people felt that it's all right to report this thing. Everybody is reporting. There is a hotline. So it was an amazing experience to be involved in.
There's a lot of people who have reported it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how should people react to it?
Well, what happens with cyber blackmail, it's a blackmail. So whoever is doing it has a criminal mind. They are psychopaths, and they know how to manipulate you. And that manipulation is psychological. They make you feel like they really implant fear in you. They make you feel shaky. They make you feel less of self-worth. And when you're at that state, they take the chance and start threatening that they will spread things about you, And that makes you very vulnerable. And most of the people will just do whatever those people want them to do, which put them into, that loop and keeps going on and on and on. And many people around the world commit suicide because of this. It's really very serious. So what happens when you report it and go to authorities, those people make sure that you're safe. They make sure that it's whatever you're doing is confidential, 100% confidential. So it's between you and them. And they help you kind of trace this, whoever is doing this, and stop them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very good. So there are cases of people who are blackmailed, and then when they've reported, they were rescued, per se, and they are out of problems now.
Well, there are different cases. Some cases get more complicated, but most of the cases you can stop them because these people want something from you. And if they can't get that thing and they are traced, then خلاص يعني it's over. Yeah.
No, that's very good input, ladies and gentlemen, from Dr. Amaal on cyber blackmailing. And in fact, I personally have heard many people who have been approached via the social media, particularly Facebook and so on, and they've ended up into some kind of an activity which then the other party have asked money or and the like. And there you go. You can report to you said ITA or CERT.
CERT.
There is a way that you can report, ladies and gentlemen, and you can be away from this cyber blackmailing. I want to know one thing, Dr. Amaal. How do you keep yourself motivated?
I'm listening to this book. I like audible books. I'm listening to this book by Zig Ziglar, and it's
I know him.
Yeah,
he's got a very strong voice.
That's him. So he's talking about how to get motivated. So that's the way I get motivated. I keep listening to books by remarkable people who've approached things, and they inspire me when they talk about their own personal experiences. So lots of times I have self-doubt. Lots of times I'm my worst critique. I criticize myself really very badly.
Okay.
And most of the times, like when this interview ends, I will go, oh my God, I did not do well. And other people will go, like, oh, you did amazing. So I like to hear from people. I like to be a bit reasonable about how to criticize myself, but most importantly, really keep reading. And one thing I got hooked to is watching YouTube when I was in Canada because I was feeling lonely. So now I'm replacing that with watching really very remarkable and informative channels on YouTube. And I feel like if you want to be ageless, make sure to learn one new thing, at least one new thing every day of your life.
Wow. So
Yeah.
every day in your life, try to learn something new.
Whatever it is. Even how to wear makeup.
What a lovely advice, ladies and gentlemen, from Dr. Amaal. Nothing beats the learning. In fact, the first thing Rasul was told was Iqra, and it was 3 times emphasizing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Dr. Amaal says, learn everything, learn something new every day.
Every day.
And the way you're doing it is you're going through YouTube and searching for
Because I'm
information.
lazy.
You don't look like lazy.
And
if you're lazy, how would I be? Come on. MashaAllah.
I start reading a book and I never finish it, so I'm cheating myself now by listening to books when I'm driving or just before I go to bed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dr. Amaal, let me tell you one thing. Whatever you are doing are examples of people who are very, very successful, because many people who are in the cars and so on listen to music and so on, but you are turning the car or motion into a university, into a learning machine, and that is very, very well.
And it motivates you a lot.
Yeah, mashallah. So what are you listening to now when you're coming to the radio show? What were you listening to?
I'm doing the same thing with the books. So I'm listening to more than one book. There's a very interesting book. It's called Predictably Irrational.
Okay.
It's very interesting. I like the sort of psychological sort of things, like why people are irrational but in a very predictable way. I forgot the author, but I have many books that I'm listening to and I'm alternating because I get bored easily.
Okay. Do you watch videos?
I
Movies or so on?
I watch videos on YouTube, but
Okay.
mostly listening to audible books.
That's mostly you're doing.
Yeah.
You don't watch movies and so on.
I do.
Okay, what was your last movie? Which is why I'm asking you this, because be very, very frank, is I love your thought process and the way you're thinking and your styles, and I can see the way you're thinking about psychological order and everything. It's interesting. Probably you watch movies.
The last movie I watched was Kung Fu Panda.
Now that I didn't see coming, but Also, I can see it's because I see you're jolly, you're always laughing and happy. That
But it's deep.
makes it.
It's really deep because I liked it when he said there's no secret ingredient. That line, the quote from the movie, because every time we think that people are successful because they're having a secret, and basically it's not a secret. It's just believing in yourself. So I think Kung Fu Panda is really deep.
It's really deep, huh? I will go and watch you. Is it any specifically the part 1, 2, or 3? Or there are many of these parts.
I was telling my sister, I feel ashamed. I never watched this movie. So I think it was part 1.
Part 1, huh?
Yeah.
I'll go and look for it. I'll share my feedback as well. Who is your role model?
Oh. My role model in personal life is my mom.
MashaAllah.
My mom is a very tough person. One thing I admire about my mom is although she went through lots of difficulties in her life, I came to know about them later when I was older.
Yeah.
She protected us and she made us feel like we're living a fairy tale, like the whole world is just, I don't know, it's like a safe, loving word. So we grow up loving everyone and feeling respect for everyone. And even those people who gave her a hard time, we did not know about it. She protected us from all of that. She's one stubborn, strong woman, and she's my ultimate role model.
MashaAllah.
My other role model at work is Professor Samir Al-Adawi.
Oh, MashaAllah.
I like his way in teaching. He's the ultimate teacher in my view, and I kind of learned a lot from him when it comes to presentation skills, like how he would put a picture that will speak to you 1,000 words without him saying any word. So sort of conceptual photography sort of pictures. So these two and
May Allah bless your mother and the doctor as well, inshallah ta'ala. And I hope they're listening to our program today. And
hopefully.
They have a fantastic colleague and a fantastic, mashallah, daughter as well. Who is very wise, very talented, and mashallah has a very bright, inshallah, future ahead.
Thank you.
Anything you wish to share before our end of our program today?
I don't know, nothing in my mind, but I just want to tell everyone, again, there is no secret for success. The only thing is just ask yourself one question. What is it, that single thing that I wanted to do all my life when I was younger? What is it? What were my ambitions? What were my dreams? What did I want to do or to be? And ask yourself, if you haven't accomplished that thing yet, is it because you've changed your mind? Or is it because you're just not going after your dreams and not doing what is needed for you to do to be that thing? So if you have that reality testing at that moment, ask yourself, what do I need to do? And for myself, the only ingredient is persistence.
MashaAllah.
Just keep going after whatever you want to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Keep going after what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Be persistent, as Dr. Amaal has shared with us today. Dr. Amaal, thank you very much for joining us today on Oman Radio FM 90.4 to share your wealth of knowledge. I would like to take this opportunity to wish you the very best and success in all that you do, inshallah.
Thank you for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program for this week. I hope you all had an intriguing time with us. Let us catch up again next week on Tuesday, same time at 5 p.m. for a knowledge session. I'm Tariq Hilal Al-Barwani with our studio engineer, DJ Saleh, wishing you all a happy and a pleasant week. Ma'a salama.